Rebel Wolves. Rebel Wolves is a studio, a brand new studio, comprised of former Witcher and Cyberpunk devs that kind of came together, decided they wanted to do something for themselves. They wanted to make their own studio and go crazy in Unreal Engine. They have come out with their trailer. Now, they actually announced that they were going to do the announcement trailer like a month or two ago. I had this bookmarked and saved all this time because I was like, I think this could be something cool. And it looks quite solid. These are just a couple little tidbits just to give you some framing of what we're about to see. But again, we'll look through all of these from Shinobi here in just a minute. But started development 2 years ago in Unreal Engine 5. Full gameplay reveal will be coming in 2025. Okay, summer of 2025. Led by former Witcher 3 game director Conrad, I'm not even going to try, and ex-Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk Quest director Mateus, which you've also probably heard of. And we'll go through this, after we watch the little trailer. But what's clear is that this is a passion project. And some people, people always try to make connections with this stuff. They're like, oh, the devs left the studio. They left this studio, therefore they must hate it, or they must think that it's terrible, or it's imploding, or whatever. No, this has happened for decades. Like most of the big studios you know of were founded by people who worked at other studios but left to make their own studio. Doesn't mean they necessarily hated the studio they were leaving. It just meant that they wanted to break out and do their own thing. That's fine. It happens. It's just people want to take a leap and they want to make their own thing and take that risk, and that's what this represents. So let's see what we've got. We're at 4K. Ooh, baby, I'm here for it. What I'm surprised, you can tell it's a cinematic trailer when it's being rendered at 48 frames a second. Do you guys remember the Hobbit when that came to theaters, and all the stories were how, oh, it's at double the frame rate of a standard movie. It's going to be so smooth. And people were saying that they were going to get like motion sick. People were getting sick watching The Hobbit because it was at 48 frames a second. Those were the days, man. The Hobbit, 48 frames a second. Oh, baby. Now I want to watch The Hobbit again. Okay, anyway, we'll watch this. Bandai is publishing it.
Must be here somewhere. This way.
It's all right.
Lunka! Don't hurt her! You gave us quite the chase, young man.
Please, sir. She's just a child.
Roderick, remind me, did I make an exception for children?
No, sire.
No. That would have been foolish, would it not? They spread the plague just as well as adults. And there's only one way to stamp out this sickness. No! Not just a runner, but a fighter, too. Had we met under a different moon, things might have ended there.
Lunka! My sister. She needs help. Fast. Please, let us pass through. I beg of you. Please. Please. I don't know. How?
I am life. I am death. I am everything in between. I have been watching your little valley. Pestilence, famine, killing. Blood spilt carelessly, like water. Things will be different now. For all of you.
Quickly reacting to the cinematic, in a word. What's the word? Hard? Stiff? Throbbing? Maybe? I don't know. What I'm wondering is, in the age of modern gaming, where are the glowing purple zits to pop? Answer me. Where are the purple crystals? Where are those? Where's the witty teenager who like says something obnoxious and then snaps? I don't see any of it. I'm gonna be real. I don't know if this is gonna do well, guys. If I had to score it, I mean, it's not gonna get that many purple crystals out of 10. I'll tell you what. Man, I love really dark and unapologetically gory and gritty stories and settings like this, and to just come right out the gate with this, I'm here for it. Because again, these trailers are about setting tone. They're about establishing what you can expect tonally, usually. And I'm loving the tone. That's why usually, like, if you're not reacting well to that first trailer, it will tell you that you're probably not going to like the final game. There's some exceptions where the first trailer doesn't quite hit it and it's not representative of what you end up getting, and it's just a mismatch of marketing versus the product. But in this case, it seems solid. Like, when I say that, I'm thinking of like Avowed. That first reveal trailer, really dark with the arrow flying through, goes into the cavern. It's dark. There's a monster out there. You see the purple magic going. I love the look of that. The final look of Avowed, I'm less about, but usually it's kind of tied together. The first reveal shows you what you can expect. But then we get a couple looks at alpha engine footage. That was all cinematics, but this is our first look at alpha engine footage. Let's see. That's very Witcher right there, that tree. The blood of Dawnwalker. Then they're doing a full gameplay reveal this summer. I would guess probably at like Summer Games Fest. That would be my guess, but we'll see. A couple little more tidbits that have been revealed elsewhere, that the one and only Shinobi has collected for us that we can point out. So it's a new single player third person fantasy action RPG. It's a mouthful. Basically means that it's going to be like most other fantasy games this time of the generation. Focused on narrative sandbox, no two playthrough. I can't read today. Focused on narrative sandbox, no two playthroughs will be identical. It takes place in Vale Sangora in 14th century medieval Europe. What I will say is, like, the narrative sandbox, this immediately to me sounded like the narrative Lego bricks thing. If you don't know that, that's what Ken Levine, the guy making Judas, has described his game as, where he's like, each component of the game, it's like a Lego brick. And as you go through the game, you build your own structure out of different Lego bricks. and then you get your own experience, your own thing after you've built it. Could just mean that it's like a choose your own adventure. It could mean that it's a little bit more dynamic than that. In this case, narrative sandbox can just mean that, hey, it's fully open. You can go whichever route you want. You do this quest, that shuts off this quest. You go this quest, you choose to help this person dies and goes away. I kind of like that. I'm open to it. It reminds me also of another vampiric game, which you may have played, you might not have, but it's one that I recommend to people because it's a AA game. I mean, it's not the most incredible like production value thing, but Vampire. This game was really interesting because it was all tied around, of course, you're playing as a vampire, but you can resist it if you want. So basically the way leveling in this game, to oversimplify it, the way leveling works in this game is that if you go and you consume the blood of people in the open world, you will gain power, making combat easier, making boss fights easier, all of that. You'll move through the game much easier, but entire districts in the game will get shut down and overrun with, basically the plague. And those people will die and it'll go into dilapidation and you won't be able to go there to the shops or anything anymore. And so you can shut down entire areas of the map just by feeding on the people there, but it gains you strength and power. So if you want to play like the most moral run through and not consume any innocent's blood, you can do that, but you're actually going to have a much harder time. So it's like the pacifist run being way more difficult because you're not powering up with that blood. Really clever idea, really cool. But this kind of narrative sandbox idea, I think, could follow a same, or at least a similar vein. Get it? Vein. Blood? No? Okay. It's similar vein where if you choose to just play kind of chaotically or evil and you're just consuming people however you need to gain power, that could make the game easier or, shut down other areas for you to go to. Takes place, I read that one. The setting has been ravaged by plague, famine, and social disorder, inspired by Eastern European architecture and culture, Polish log houses, Ukrainian Balkan clothing, Romanian defensive churches, and more. The world has been watched by vampires in the shadows waiting to strike and make their move when humanity is at its lowest and to overthrow the feudal lords. Seems like this is a good time to do it. Day-night cycle. This is where it gets interesting. Day-night cycle plays a big role. Wanted the world and villages and buildings to feel like a different place after sunset. You play as Cohen, energetic, becomes Dawnwalker, not human, not vampire, something in between, can traverse both worlds of humanity and creatures of the night. Built-in way to do something where you can have the benefits and powers of a vampire, but you can still go out and have a day-night cycle. You can still be in the sun and stuff. You fight with swords and weapons by day, and you can use vampiric abilities in combat at night, explore the environment, etc. You have 30, this is really, really interesting. You have 30 in-game days and 30 nights to save your family. They wanted a sense of urgency. When you complete an objective/quest, time moves forward, but time doesn't pass in real-world time, and you can manage how to use time as a resource. This goes back to something we talked about with the new Far Cry, because the rumors are the new Far Cry 7 is going to have, similar to like Dead Rising, it's going to have a day-night cycle, but it's going to have a limited number of days for you to save your family. And I personally, I kind of love this stuff. I love it when you as the player are made to feel like the player character. I love that stuff. It's why I loved the epilogue of Red Dead, where, not to be too specific, well, the game's freaking almost 7 years old. Like, I can talk about it. But after the craziness of the end of Red Dead Redemption's story with Arthur, it's just pure chaos and hectic energy everywhere. And then you go and what do you spend the next 3 hours of gameplay doing after that? You spend it working as a farmhand, like driving to town very slowly, building a fence, talking with your wife and your family. Like, it's very, very slow, but it's done to make you as the player feel like John is feeling, to feel like he just lived this exciting life. And now he's working a pretty boring life in comparison, and he goes stir crazy. And that's part of what they're trying to communicate to the player by making you feel the same way that they're feeling. And with this type of thing, I love the idea of a sense of urgency and this frantic need to save your family, and then actually tasking the player with the same restrictions and the same timelines to be like, no, you're saving your family. Hurry up and save your family. And this is the other piece. They're welcoming multiple run-throughs. I don't know. I do think I know why this has become like, I don't know if it's taboo is the right word, but have you noticed how so many games nowadays are built to just be as big as possible because they anticipate that once you roll credits, you are never touching it again. And I think it's probably because they see the stats and they see the very few people go back and replay games once they finish them compared to the vast majority of people who start those games. I would argue that that's probably partially, it's kind of like chicken and the egg, which came first. Did people stop replaying games because they're not made to be replayed, or did people stop making games to be replayed because people weren't doing that? It's kind of hard to say. But with this, they're building a game that they are welcoming you to go back through, try again, try another 30-day cycle run, and see if you can come to a different outcome, exploring a different narrative sandbox area, doing something differently, and doing it that way. Maybe you just say screw it to your family. You don't save your family. You just play evil. You help the vampires take over. Maybe you do that. Or maybe you go the other route and you do save your family and you knock it out in 15 days. Maybe you do that, you know, but it encourages you to try different things. And I find that interesting. It's not for everybody, sure, but I love wacky stuff like this. That's just not, it's not part of like the meta. You know, the meta is big open world adventure RPG. That's what everybody tries to do nowadays for the last like 5 years, frankly, not just nowadays, but it seems like everybody, that's the meta, is you just do that. But this is something different. This is something unique. And I like that. You meet many characters throughout the game with their own goals and ambitions, which may make you friends or put you in opposition to them. There's a blood hunger gameplay mechanic where you need to feed throughout your playthrough, similar to most other vampire games. Love that. If you talk to someone and have gone long without feeding first, you might lose control and eat them, even your best friend in the game. Interesting. So they're not even going to pretend to give you like a pacifist run through. Like you're going to need to feed, figure it out. Otherwise you might snap. I wonder how this could be represented. Like, is it something where you're just having a dialogue engagement with somebody and then the character just snaps and all of a sudden they just like kill the NPC you're talking to and you have no say in it? Or is it like a mini game where you have to try to resist by like putting in a long string, you know, like when you're entering codes in Just Cause 2 where it's just like Y, X, you know, A, B, B, A, X, A, B, B, Y, A, B, and you got to type it really quickly, otherwise he eats the person. I don't know if they do that. Let's see. Vampire design. In this world, your vampire's teeth don't stop growing, so the older vampires have a lot of teeth, aren't visible at first, can extend as their mouths open. Okay. Vampires are led by Bronchis, a super powerful old vampire that wants to change the world, twisted old religious beliefs, and took advantage of social turmoil to turn himself into a messianic figure. The vampire leadership aren't black and white, but more gray, as they overthrew violent and corrupt feudal lords, but also kill people to eat, conduct blood masses at church, etc. Brensis, I'm guessing is probably how it's actually pronounced, is a sort of active antagonist that will react to your actions and decisions, will set edicts in the game that will become obstacles to the player, like military checkpoints, etc. Sounds super cool. Sounds super cool. And again, it's being built by people who worked on The Witcher 3. And that really excites me. It's being built in Unreal Engine 5, which is, again, kind of the meta now. But tonally, in terms of style, in terms of substance, I am here for it. I think the concept is really exciting. And I'm giddy. I'm giddy. So this is one to watch. As for when we actually see more of it, I mean, we're looking at something that's, I mean, gameplay reveal in summer 25. I can't imagine it comes out in the next year and a half. I mean, I would think that this probably comes much later, but they've announced it for PS5 and series consoles as well. But when we look at this actual like gameplay stuff, well, in-engine stuff, not necessarily gameplay, let's be clear. This tree, I don't know why this tree with like the ribbons hanging off of it is so Witcher to me. I don't know why, but it just looks Witcher. You can see castles. There's a whole city down here, implying there's going to be a big open world, at least a decent sized open world. So there's that. But man, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I love vampire stuff. I love dark, gritty stuff. It seems tailor-made for somebody like me. So I am very, very intrigued. And I can't wait to see the gameplay reveal, the full gameplay reveal. What do you guys think? What's your thoughts on all of this. The Higher Vampire and Toussaint. Detlef. Do you mean him? Very intrigued. It's a W. There's a developer doc video where the devs dive deep into the game, kind of similar to the KCD2 reveal video. Yeah, I think that's where Shinobi got all this stuff recapped. Want to see more? I like how it looks. Certain cameo. Hate the urgency feature, but other than that, it's cool. Yeah, I think, you know, some people, they play these games in a very chill, relaxed style. You know, they want to just explore. They want to kind of work their way through it at their pace. So the idea of having this thing where it's like, no, you can do that side quest, but that's going to take a day. And then you only have 29 left before your family dies and it's game over. Like, again, some people hate that. I kind of love it, frankly. I kind of eat that up. But I understand why people might not like it. He took my thing. Red